it's kind of my Halloween tradition to get a monster cereal. Did you guys hear there's like a whole new one this year?
I only heard about that because you told me when you came to visit.
Right.
Is it the girl one?
Yeah, Carmela Creeper. She's like a zombie.
No, she's a creeper from Minecraft.
You know what? I don't want Carmela Creeper. I want Freddy Freaker.
Is the free?
I eat Freddy Freaker cereal. Yeah.
Is it just like little? Is it just like they're all in the T pose like Freddy Freaker?
Yeah, and if you like wave them around in the milk, it looks like they're doing the dance.
Well, so I tried Carmela Creeper, and I kind of am bummed out to report. I don't know if it's very good. I think it's kind of gross, actually.
Because like when you described it to me, you said it was like caramel apple flavored, right?
Yeah.
So what is gross about it?
So like, because my first thought was like, that sounds really weird for a cereal, but like I like cinnamon apple cereal. Maybe it's like closer to that than I realize. But it's just like the bright green cereal pieces where it's like really sour, and then there's that caramely, that caramely aftertaste. You know, the way it kind of lingers. That's like the only semblance of caramel actually there.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. So, because I ate 2 bowls last night because I was super high. And even then, I was like, I'm not so sure. Then I like just tried a couple pieces dry this morning, and I was like, oh god.
Oh fuck! What the fuck?
There's some lore on the back of the box that she's Frankenberry's cousin, I guess. There's like a little...
On Frankenberry's mom's or dad's side?
They're not specific. Just that she's a long-lost cousin.
It's not very good lore.
Yeah. Well, we get the lore that Chocula, Boo Berry, and Frankenberry are playing video games together. What do you guys think they're playing?
Fortnite.
Rev up those fryers and fill those champagne glasses to the tippy top. It's West Coast Toast and Roast with Tommy, Will, and Dav. Welcome back to West Coast Toast and Roast. I had regrettable cereal, 2 bowls worth, last night in preparation for our Halloween special. It's me, Tommy.
And I actually had some Frosted Flakes this morning, and I'm Will.
And I'm on the way to Walmart to get my blue trick-or-treat bucket because I'm diabetic, and apparently that is a thing that somebody made up on Facebook, so, yeah.
What is it?
I'm Dav. It's like, if a kid has a blue trick-or-treat bucket, it's like this post on Facebook.
Uh-huh.
If a kid has a blue trick-or-treat bucket, it means they're either type 1 diabetic or they're nonverbal or autistic. Or diabetes.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm like, how do those two things overlap? Like, I kind of don't get it.
I have no clue. I think it's just people keep on making up bullshit and adding it onto each other for no reason.
And
like,
sometimes it like overlaps, so that's why it's both.
But when?
Yeah.
That's confusing. I don't, all right. Well, golly, Halloween. I've never gotten trick-or-treaters since I started living by myself. I don't know if,
We live in apartments, so they don't really go there.
yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
You gotta go to all the big houses to get the full-size candy.
Yeah, they don't want to go to no broke-ass bachelor pad.
I suppose, yeah. No, that makes sense. I just feel like we're at a point where homeowners are like a dying breed. So, like, I feel like in the next 20 years, kids will have nowhere to trick-or-treat because everyone's going to live in apartments.
I mean, single-family homes are still rented out.
Yeah, I suppose. Alright. Well, I have all spooky... Oh, wait, no. Trailer Life or Death. I almost forgot again. Alright. Gotcha. So, sent over a few trailers. We got a chance to watch them all, right?
Yep.
Yep.
I feel lucky I got to curate it to be all spooky stuff, even though you'd think they'd shoot their load and do spooky stuff like this month. But there's still more to come in the next few months. First is for the film Lisa Frankenstein, which kind of has its pedigree in that it's written by Diablo Cody of Jennifer's Body and Juno fame, starring, excuse me, I'm just getting over a small Halloweeny cold, so I might have a cough here or there, but I feel well otherwise. Stars Catherine Newton as the titular Lisa Frankenstein, who is like making herself a Frankenstein monster boyfriend thing. So now instead of it's Frankenstein's monster, you can say it's Frankenstein's like fuckboy. It's great. Wonderful.
It's like a reverse Frankenstein's chick.
Yeah. Well, she is. She's Frankenstein. Frankenstein's. Unless he is also Frankenstein.
Monster.
Yeah.
So she's Frankenstein's chick, and I guess she's Frankenstein's man? Or he's Frankenstein's man?
I think deep down, we're all Frankenstein.
Shut the fuck. Just get on with it. What the fuck are you even talking about?
I think this looks cute. I like a weird, kind of like, looks like a lower budget take. It's distributed by Focus here in the States, but I noticed Universal is distributing it elsewhere, so kind of like Renfield, it's like weirdly canon to the Universal Monsterverse in a way. Fuck it, I think it looks neat. I'm gonna ironically, give it life, even though it's about raising the dead.
I guess I'll go next. I was stuck on this one because I think it could be cool in execution, but the trailer didn't really, like, make me desperate to see it. Like, I think it's a cool idea. I like Frankenstein stories turned on their head. But also, I mean, this does seem like it's going to be more of just a comedy, not really a horror movie. So I guess, I don't know if I want to give it a life or death, because I don't really want to give it a life because I don't think right now it's a movie that I would want to see. But I don't want to give it a death because it's like, I don't think it looks bad. I guess it's a personal death because it didn't really interest me.
Let's hear Dav weigh in, and then we can see if you break the tie somehow, I guess.
I'm gonna give it a life because I think it looks interesting. I do like the almost like Heathers-esque concept they have going on here.
Yeah.
And is the monster, is that Cole Sprouse?
Yeah.
Wait, it was?
Yeah, it's Cole Sprouse.
Okay, fuck it. I'm changing my answer. That's a life.
There we go.
Yeah, life for me, so I guess it's life all around.
It's Cole Sprouse and Ant-Man's daughter.
Oh, yeah. She's gonna go up to Frankenstein and be like, just stop being a dick.
Never too late to stop being a dick. That brings us to the game trailer of the month. It's Don't Scream. There were arguably bigger trailers this month, but I wanted to go all spooky stuff. This is, I thought this was a VR game, but I guess it's not. But it's like a first-person horror where you explore these really richly detailed-looking forests, Blair Witch style. And as far as I can gather, jump scares happen, and I think it'll, like, detect your voice if you scream or not, and you have to, like, fucking keep it together. I want you guys to go first, because I feel weirdly ambivalent.
I guess gosh, this is another hard one. I'm gonna give it a life, but I'm also going to give it a cautious life.
Mm-hmm.
Because, number one, like, it does look really nice. I like the idea that it's, like, all taking place on a camcorder, and, like, it kind of harkens back to, like, found footage stuff. And it looks very sufficiently creepy. Like, it was cool when he was going through the woods and, like, seeing all that abandoned shit.
The graphics look really good.
Like,
it looks really nicely detailed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, the graphics look amazing. The only thing I got disappointed in And again, I'm still giving it a life, but it like lowered my life rating. Is when the monster showed up. It just kind of looked like a generic like dead person.
Yeah.
And I feel like for an idea like this, and one that's got so much fucking work put into it, it deserves like a actually scary monster. Like I'm sorry, but like zombies aren't really that scary, or like just kind of dead people that have decayed. And you know, it's like I think it can be, but I just feel like if you're going to do something as cool as this, you need to make it unique all around. Because like in the trailer, there's a jump scare, and I didn't really get scared because it just kind of looked like every other like Resident Evil zombie. So I'm hoping that that's just like one of the monsters, and maybe there's more. But overall, I give it a life.
Okay, well, by contrast, I'm gonna give this one a very solid death. Because this game is streamer bait. It was created to be streamed, specifically, because I want you all to think about how often you actually scream out loud when you play horror games, and think about how that contrasts to how much streamers scream when they're performing while playing video games. That is what this game exists for. And while the graphics are interesting and the aesthetic is nice, and I like the found footage angle to it, I think other games have kind of done that better. Outlast arguably has done that better. And if the game is built off of you like restarting whenever you scream, that means it's probably going to be just loaded with jump scares and cheap scares like that, and there's going to be very little horror outside of that, which doesn't really interest me.
I was having a hard time putting my finger on it, but that's very true. That's a very astute observation.
It's kind of a bummer, yeah.
So we'll have like market.
Yeah, you're not gonna get like the good type of horror where it's like dread. It's gonna be just jump scares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Will's solitary life I still feel weirdly ambivalent, but Will's solitary life lifts it to life regardless of my choice. So we'll just leave it at that. That brings us to the last trailer of our lineup. That's The Curse, starring Nathan Fielder and Emma Stone, in which they are an HGTV-style couple who end up cursed by somebody they wrong, and spooky shit starts going around. And so, solid life from me. This is like coming next month, and it's probably my most anticipated show. No, that's a lie, because Scott Pilgrim and Invincible are also next month. But I'm going to be eating good, because I think this looks fucking great, and I love Nathan Fielder stuff. Even if, like, The Rehearsal didn't necessarily knock it out of the park, Nathan For You is still one of my favorite shows of all time. And I think this is a really weird way to use his persona, but I think it makes a lot of sense, and I'm pretty amped for this, personally.
Yeah, I also give it a life. Because, you know, the limited Nathan For You I've seen is fucking hilarious. It's also being, I guess, produced by A24.
Yeah.
And as much as their track record hasn't been, like, as great as it was recently, that still excites me that so many good people are, like, going on it. Or working on it, that's the right word. And, you know, the trailer doesn't give away much, so I don't really know what to expect, but I have faith in the cast and the crew that, like, at the very least, it's going to be entertaining. Could end up being a disappointment because, you know, like I said, I think the trailer doesn't really give away anything besides the fact that they do get cursed, but might not get cursed because either way, I think it looks good, and if they go with if they really run with the concept, I think this could be, like, one of the greatest horror shows of all time.
It's, like, the most Nathan Fielder possible curse in that he is asked to give some money to, like, a disadvantaged kid to get caught on camera, like, looking really nice for his show. And so he does that, and then when the camera cuts, he's like, "Hey, all I had was that 100. Can I have it back, please?" Fucking, which is so quintessentially Nathan Fielder in an A24 film. So the little girl fucking curses him.
I hope you're ready for nothing.
I'm in heaven now.
He doesn't talk like that.
The poor dad is just like, yeah, no, she doesn't. Like,
I'll also give this a life cautiously. I like Nathan Fielder, so that definitely piques my interest big time. But from what I saw in the trailer, this looks like it's kind of trying to go for like a God, what would you call it? The similar thing to like Bad Grandpa and shit. Bad Trip.
I didn't wrap my head around that till you said so.
It's kind of filmed like it's supposed to mostly be like a candid thing, maybe not entirely, but there's some sequences in there that they seem to be just out in public kind of doing this stuff.
Interesting.
But I don't think they're going all in on that. So I'm curious to see if that's really the case, what they're going to do with it. But beyond that, the concept just doesn't sound like something that could be carried for... Because this is a show, right?
Yeah, I imagine this is one of those, like, 6 to 8 episode, like, miniseries.
Yeah, I like Nathan For You and The Rehearsal until it... Like, The Rehearsal was great until I think I started to kind of lose interest in it when they kind of just did one thing for the last most of the show. Mm-hmm. And if they're just from the beginning doing this one concept, I'm not sure how stretched thin that's going to be.
Yeah, for some, I think maybe because I'm so used to seeing Nathan Fielder in like a candid context, I just didn't catch on that this might be the same thing. I just thought it was fully scripted, but now that you mention it, it could be going for like doing the paranormal shit like around public people, and that kind of begs the question of what Emma Stone is doing there, because I don't know if she has like experience with that kind of thing, or
I feel like Emma Stone is famous enough that like you can't do a candid camera show with her, because like everyone's gonna be like, oh, that's Emma Stone.
That's true, but
and like also that would be kind of funny if, like, this was a candid show and that girl just, like, happened to curse Nathan Fielder.
I think
it just, like, actually started happening.
Well, I think, like, they script that to set up the premise. I guess we'll have to see. Because now I'm kind of crossed up about it. I don't know.
Mostly just overall the way that it's shot is pretty much that, where it seems like the cameras are almost like hidden cameras.
But the characters are HGTV hosts, so I wonder if they were just replicating that framing to make it seem like shit's going wrong on a homeowner's reality show.
I guess could be.
I guess we'll see. I mean, no, considering how often Nathan Fielder even just like blurs the line between those concepts in all of his work, I guess it'll be some weird column A, column B situation. Is this the first time we've had unanimous life for I mean, not unanimous, because we did have votes for death, but is this the first time we didn't declare unanimous death for anything?
I think so.
That's a little ironic since it's the spooky episode. We should do something really mean to balance that out.
Yeah, let's burn down an orphanage!
Yeah! But I've got 3 spooky topics. I hope your guys' topics are spooky as well. I'm kidding, obviously. We can twist anything to sound spooky. Will, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, and thankfully my first topic is spooky as well. I am going to give a life to...
You mean a toast?
2 volumes. Oh yeah, fuck. You guys know what I meant. I am toasting the Tales of Howard Phillips Lovecraft, illustrated by Francois Baranger. And in specific, I'm going to toast his adaptation of At the Mountains of Madness. So, I went to the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society today because they were having an open house, and I like to look at the books they're selling. So I saw one of them was like At the Mountains of Madness, which is one of my favorite Lovecraft stories, and possibly, I'd say even more than Call of Cthulhu, maybe his like most essential one. So they had this book of the At the Mountains of Madness, and I was looking through it and was just kind of amazed. So the book is kind of like a graphic novel in that there's like pictures on every page, and then the actual like text of the book is like kind of written below it. And the pictures take up the entire page, and they are fucking haunting. But like in an amazing way. Apparently this guy has done like a lot of stuff with Lovecraft. He just did the Dunwich Horror. His first one was Call of Cthulhu, and I'm definitely gonna have to pick up those. But At the Mountains of Madness is such a weird fucking story that, like, it's very hard to adapt or make, like, because if you even do one thing wrong, it kind of loses its giant dread. Like, in the actual story, there is the description of 6-foot-tall albino penguins.
What the fuck?
And, exactly, like, when you hear it, it's not that scary, right?
Yeah.
And like I was talking with a few people at the Historical Society, and they're like, well, one thing that Lovecraft excels at is he gives, kind of confusing descriptions of things, because that way the reader forms an idea in their mind that will be unique from everyone else. Like, but that the albino penguin is one of the few things that he just, like, described out front. He said, like, there is a 6-foot albino penguin in here. But fucking Baranger, I hope I'm saying his last name right, is such a talented artist. I turned to that page and my stomach dropped.
Oh no.
Because he takes this description of a 6-foot-tall albino penguin and makes the most disgusting creature that you've ever seen. It's like, it is a giant 6-foot-tall penguin, but it's got like these creepy veins on it, and it's kind of slimy looking in the art. You can tell that like hours and hours of work were put into these pictures.
Sheesh. Yeah. How long ago did you find this?
I just found it today, actually.
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm surprised you didn't show that to me when I visited the other week.
Yeah, no, and I've been pretty much just like reading it ever since I got home. It is just like a incredible story, and it's really elevated by the pictures. There's a part in the story where because the story is about like people go to Antarctica, find shit. There's a part in the story where they like go through a cave, and when they come out, there's like this giant ancient city with agriculture that like doesn't look anything like human agriculture. And the way this guy draws the city is like absolutely insane. He shows us, the characters standing over the cliff looking down, but they are so incredibly tiny. And then he draws this painting basically, where the city looks like it stretches on for like thousands of miles. It is so like long, and all of the buildings are still detailed, but also none of the details are anything like any agriculture in our world. But then there's also like a bit of fog and snow, so it kind of obscures it, so you don't get the whole thing, but you like get an idea of how absolutely massive this civilization that came millions of years before us was.
Mm-hmm.
The pictures are truly amazing. They feel like if Lovecraft himself wanted to like draw this, it feels like this would be it. And then of course there's stuff like the Shoggoths, which are like giant, like basically piles of flesh that like constantly mutate, and they're really cool in this too. I mean, Shoggoths are pretty easy to do because it's just, make a giant, quivering blob of flesh. but the details he puts on it, and the shadows, and the way that, like, everything that is not human in this book has, like, this weird shiny slime on it.
Oh my god.
It's
like,
really cool.
I'm picturing something you can, like, almost feel on the page, like a texture. Am I correct?
So it looks like you could be able to feel it.
Right.
I know what you're talking about. It looks like that, but it's just like a flat drawing.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah. And honestly, I think, like, because I know Lovecraft is a little hard to get into for most people, I feel like this book, the illustrated version, is kind of the perfect foray into Lovecraft. It would really, like, not like Lovecraftian cosmic horror, but like actually Lovecraft's work, you know?
And his politics.
No. But it just feels like it's a perfect adaptation of a Lovecraft story, which is very hard to come by, but I really enjoyed it. I feel like I want to show you guys this because I know both of you are like, you guys know cosmic horror. Dab, I think you're probably a bit more of a fan of cosmic horror than Sherman.
Yeah.
Is that right to say?
Yep.
Yeah. So, like, I feel like even though both of you have been exposed to it, reading this would kind of give you a new outlook on it.
Alright.
Because at the very least, you know, I think Lovecraft is one of the greatest authors of all time, not just in my opinion, but objectively. And I think that everyone should read at least one of his stories in his lifetime. So with this, you get to read the story and look at this beautiful art and these sprawling cities and these disgusting, like, creatures shrouded in darkness where we only see, like, not the creature itself. Someone at the Lovecraft Society defined it. The thing that makes Lovecraft monsters and, like, the elder things scary is that you don't see them. And you also don't see a part of them. You see a part of their shadow. And even that is enough to drive a man mad. And I feel like in these books, they're perfect at showing that. Because there's, you know, these elder things that they dissect in the story, and we see a bit of them, but they're still shrouded in darkness, so you kind of have to, like, fill in the blanks. It's one of the greatest pieces of art I've ever read, and I think it's easily probably my favorite direct Lovecraft adaptation.
Sheesh. And so is it...
Cool.
It does sound... Is it like a graphic novel, or is it like segments of the book accompanied by pictures?
No, so first of all, The Mountains of Madness is a short story.
Uh-huh.
So it's not like a book length.
Right.
But it's like, so the entire page has a picture. And sometimes it'll do that thing where, like, both pages share the same picture when it's like you're looking at them left and right.
Yeah.
And then, like, at the bottom of the pages or on the sides, there'll be, like, the actual text of At the Mountains of Madness. If I, like, here, let me take a picture and text it to you guys, because I think this'll, like, make a bit more sense once you see it. But yeah, I got to read a little bit of it to Cloud, my bearded dragon, because when I get new books, I just think it's fun to like read over to him, even though he probably has no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. But yeah, big recommendation on this book, not just for, you know, fans of Lovecraft, but of fans of horror, of fans of art, of fans of the macabre. It's a beautiful story, beautiful and terrifying, but, you know, still the artwork is beautiful nonetheless. And I dropped a picture of it in the chat so you guys can kind of see, like, what it does.
Oh, cool. Okay. No, I'm into it. That's a really cool... Is that like a big... Alright, I'm at the risk of sounding fucking stupid, just because I don't have the best look at it. Is that like a big starfish or like a mountain?
See, no, you're kind of spot on. They discover these things called the Elder Things, and from the, I don't want to like butcher the description in the book, but they have like part of them looks like a starfish.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's implied, and I think you can interpret it that like that is just a giant mountain. But I like to, I think you can kind of imply that that's just like one of the dead ones, and that's how fucking gigantic they.
Oh, that's fucking brutal.
Yeah.
I'm into. Is this only at that H.P. Lovecraft Emporium that you regular, or is this like sold everywhere?
I think it might be sold everywhere. I know. Yeah, I'll have to look that up, but like the H.P. Lovecraft Emporium does like, collect a bunch of authors who make stuff about Lovecraft. So it's definitely there, and you can actually get it on the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society website if you want to, throw some money their way, because they do a lot of great work about, the education of Lovecraft stories, and also kind of like getting people passionate about horror. So I would definitely recommend, if you're interested in this, going to the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society online store and just picking up a copy, because it is absolutely worth it.
Give us the name one more time for the folks at home.
Yeah. So we're not sponsored by them, but I am a member, and I do want to shill them out a bit, because they're very great people, and I think any society that focuses so much on education but also entertainment is very invaluable. It's the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society. If you just Google that, you'll be able to find their page.
Well, if people want to find the book you're specifically toasting, what do they look up?
Oh, yes. Okay, so they look up At the Mountains of Madness by Francois, just kind of like spelled, like a French person would spell it. Baranger.
Like a French person would spell it.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. That's extremely cool. I'm like, I don't know if this sounds the wrong way, but I'm really vicariously happy that there's like this devoted a sect to the Lovecraft stuff you're so big on.
Oh yeah, and like I know we forgot to go when you were down, but next time you're down, we're definitely gonna have to go there. Because
Absolutely.
They're just very nice. They got like a big dog there.
What?
Yeah.
Like
the dog, like it has tentacles on it. It's like it'll eat you.
Look, everybody, I'm riding the dog.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Is it like a Saint Bernard?
I think it's a Great Pyrenees.
Oh, those are pretty great too. I just feel like that's number one way to have good vibes at your business. Just like have a dog who's just like there. Usually a big one.
Yeah, no, she is very big and very sweet. There were a bunch of people in there since it was open house, and she was just kind of chilling on the floor and like walking around.
It's wonderful.
Tommy, I know you haven't. Dav, have you read At the Mountains of Madness?
No, I haven't really read a whole lot of Lovecraft yet, honestly.
Yeah, I think, like for both of you, I think this really could be your foray into it, because it's just an amazing story. It's fucking terrifying. There's nothing like it, and the art's pretty great.
Yeah, maybe I can flip. Sorry.
I just said nice.
Yeah, maybe I can flip through sometime, is all I was going to say as well.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. And
I'll probably have a cosmic horror book to toast on the next podcast, but not this time around.
Can you put in the name of the book in the chat, just so we don't spoil the audience, but,
Yeah, because, so far I'm loving it, and I'm sure when I finish it, it's going to be getting a big old toast from me, but yeah, I'll drop it in the chat.
We just hear the Discord notification I read out. Diary of a Wimpy Kid Roderick rules.
Meat and fuck kingdom.
Meat and huh?
Do you think because you've told me about that book before, I didn't think it was really cosmic horror, was it?
Oh, it's absolutely cosmic horror. Like, it doesn't seem like it at first, but the more I read into it, yeah, it absolutely is.
Okay, you might have to tell me about that after we end the recording. But for now, why don't you go ahead and toast or roast whatever.
Okay. Well, let's get the arbitrary Spider-Man out of the way. This is probably going to be the last time we talk about this for a while. So I'm toasting Marvel's Spider-Man 2.
And we can tie that to Halloween.
The other ones.
We can tie that to Halloween because it's very themed around masks, and a lot of kids will be dressed up as Spider-Man.
Yeah?
Yeah, and the game is pretty scary.
Oh yeah, it's really scary. So yeah, obviously I picked this game up as soon as it released, and I platinumed it in less than 3 days, because I just didn't really stop playing it. And it's great, honestly. It's fantastic, because I think this is the first one that Insomniac has made of the Spider-Man games that is exclusive to the newer gen consoles, and it really shows. Technically, this game is fantastic. You can fast travel to any spot in the city at all pretty much instantly. Instead of having specific spots like in previous games where you would like take the subway for a loading screen, there's like no loading screens really. You can switch between characters seamlessly, between Peter and Miles, and it's awesome just how well it works. On that level at least. I think there are a few bugs that I think are indicative of this game probably being a little bit rushed out.
They took away Spider Cube!
We had Spider Cube, and they took away Spider Cube in a patch. Overall, I feel like there is a lot of polish here, like a lot more than most AAA releases with issues this year. Compare it to like Gollum or Redfall or something, and it's light years beyond those.
Wait, was Gollum really supposed to be a AAA game?
I'm not sure if it falls under triple. It was definitely a major release with a lot of like marketing and hype behind it.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, this game did have a few bugs like that, and Miles's apartment had a Cuban flag in it. I'll circle back around to that because that's a little indicative, I think, of a bit higher of an issue, but for now, just to give an overview of this game, it is the symbiote story. It's a story that has been done by pretty much every Spider-Man adaptation ever, and in this one, it's done very well, I think. Yuri Lowenthal gives a great performance as the sort of broody Peter, and he makes some of the funniest jokes I think I've heard from Spider-Man in a while, too.
Can you tell us one of them?
Okay, so there's a scene where one of Kraven's men is, like, wearing a bear pelt, and he's, like, gigantic, and he's walking up to Spider-Man, and Spider-Man is wearing the black suit at this time, and he's just like, wait, before we start, can I just say something? And the guy actually, like, stops and lets him finish, and he just, like, goes up and he whispers, and he's like, I'm all out of honey. And the guy fucking launches him through a window, right? It's fucking great. So yeah, I like this Black Suit Peter. It's a lot of fun. Initially, the game is pretty much just Kraven. Venom doesn't really show up until significantly later. But honestly, Kraven, I think, is done so much better than I was expecting in this game. Because I was a bit disappointed to hear that he would basically have a bunch of, like, mercenaries and have just a whole bunch of people, which didn't really seem like really fit his character.
Mm-hmm.
But they make it work in this, I think, and there are some missions that kind of flesh out some of the hunters that he's allied with, and I think it works. It's really not too distracting. And the only thing that really brings the hunters down, I think, are some of the, unfortunately, the Mary Jane missions that have come back. There aren't as many of them, and they aren't as tedious this time around, thankfully, but the fact that she is able to go toe-to-toe with any of these hunters just fine does kind of bring them down a little bit. And Craven is a real threat. He's a really driven guy. Like, you hear about his goal, you get backstory on like his family and stuff, and his motivations for coming to New York, and he comes across very intimidating. Like, he's able to basically fight anybody, and he's such an intimidating force that he pretty much completely ignores Spider-Man for the most part, and just kind of sees both of them as just kind of nuisances, because he's just constantly looking for the best of the best. Unfortunately, without going into spoilers, he does kill off a few of the villains from the first game off screen.
I was gonna say, I heard some people weren't thrilled about that.
No, it's pretty lame. Yeah, sure, it makes him intimidating. Like I said, it brings him up a little bit, but it could have been handled a lot better, I think.
Well, and also, because of one of the villains he killed, we kind of lose out on what could have been one of the best Spider-Man moments recreated in this game.
Oh, shut up. I know what you're talking.
What am I talking about? Put it in the message me about it. But I just want to see, because I feel like I'm going to get this message and I'm going to be like, Jesus Christ, Dav, no!
Well, anyway, I'm not going to go too into detail on that again, because I don't want to really spoil this game. It is very, very, like, less than 10 days ago, so... but that being said, the whole Craven stuff was fun. The crimes are very streamlined. Completion of districts is streamlined. Everything, I think, is just... It works a lot better in this game. There were a lot of improvements. They removed a lot of the gadgets and kind of just brought it down to about 5 of them, which I think is good, because I think just having too many, like, Iron Man gadgets in the first game was kind of... didn't really add anything, and so I think them just kind of putting it down to a few was a good move. And then I guess I'll circle back to the Cuban flag in Miles' apartment, because Miles in this game is done not very well, in my opinion. There's something... Let me preface this by saying that I think that what they were technically going for with him was good and admirable. Most of his missions are about not necessarily going and fighting crime, but about helping people and giving back to his community. And that, I think, is really great, and I'm glad to see that here. I would have liked to see really any of that in Peter's path, that it's really not there. And I feel like Miles' half of the game, up until it kind of converges with the symbiote story, it feels like it was written by middle-aged white men trying to pander to the kids. There's a just weird amount of, like, story beats from the side missions that are just... hey, look at this kid, or look at this member of society, and look at what makes them different, and don't focus on anything else. It can lead to some fun moments. There's a side quest where you help a blind lady get a service dog because she's allergic to dogs, and you get her one of Craven's robot dogs, and you reprogram it for her, and that was pretty funny.
That's amazing.
But just for some reason, it feels really insincere when every single member of New York that Miles talks to is either disabled, or queer or just something like that, when I would have liked to see more of that on Peter's side, frankly. When you only put it on the character who is himself a minority, it feels like you're really trying to say something weird about him.
See, that's what I was going to say. Because I don't see why, like, the Peter missions would always be a certain way and the Miles missions would always be a certain way. It seems like they could have, like, divvied them up. But it is a little weird that they're like, yeah, only Miles helps people, and Peter just, like, kind of goes around and, like, fucks stuff up.
Well, I was gonna say, it sounds like there's an imbalance in that Miles is, like, helping the disadvantaged and the handicapped in whatever which ways, and Peter's, like, high-fiving the cops the whole time, I take it. Like...
I mean, pretty much. Thankfully, there's not as much propaganda in this as there was in, like, the first game. Because, well, Wraith, who was Yuri, actually ends up not really being a full-on, like, villain in this game. I did not think they were going to do that. She has kind of a series of side quests that set up to a different villain that I'm not going to spoil, and I did not at all see coming, but I really should have, because it was very obvious. But it's a big fucking deal, and I think it's probably going to be a DLC for this game. But it was nice that she was just kind of, like it didn't completely discount her way of thinking, so I appreciate that. But yeah, it's, there really needed to be, I think, more representation on Peter's side, because Miles' side had a side quest, and I'll try to remember exactly what the wording was, but there was one where you're, like, helping some students at Visions, the school he goes to, and their mascot costume was kidnapped by a rival school, and you basically have to follow some clues to help them get it back. And one of the clues, when you go to, like, some rooftop, a lot of these puzzles are like, rotate these mirrors and make the laser point at the wall. And one of the messages that he picks up just says, like, it's like some sort of riddle, and just, I'm trying to remember what it said, but it was just like, we BIPOC artists must stick together, and
Wait, say it again?
We BIPOC artists must stick together, something, famous artists, something, go to here. And all I could think was, there is not a single person on this planet, let alone in New York City, who talks like that.
Right.
And this is something that was written by a middle-aged executive or something. And you don't see anything like that on Peter's side. That's the thing, though, like, if this was also on Peter's side, I would be more forgiving of it. But I am just really suspicious of seeing this stuff only for Miles. It's really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
but it's still, it's fun. It's just, yeah, it feels icky, and I hope that for the next game they bring some new talent on that can maybe bring things down to earth a little bit, flesh out Miles more, because he's got a lot of potential, as we see in stuff like Spider-Verse, for God's sake. He can be an amazing character.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I guess, and you mentioned it was kind of a spoiler, but how does Venom turn out in this one? Because that's what has my interest peaked a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I assume you don't know who it is, right?
You guys speculated a lot that it's Harry, and it seems like that's probably the case, is it?
Yeah, I won't spoil it, but I do think that Venom is done very well here. There are some things that I think hardcore Venom fans are really gonna have problems with. Mostly the fact that the symbiotes in this aren't really characters themselves. It's just like, the symbiote is the symbiote, and whoever it attaches to is kind of how it affects what ends up being created, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the symbiote kind of starts infecting random civilians, and so there's like hundreds of just random symbiote zombies at a certain point.
The symbiote can't do that.
It's pretty weird, but I think that Venom himself is fantastic. Tony Todd is amazing casting, and I really cannot talk about him too much without spoiling the game, because pretty much everything about him from the moment he first appears is just fantastic. So I will leave it at that. I'll just say he's done very well, and I really appreciated it. So,
well, on one hand,
I think anybody...
I was just going to say, on one hand, the reason there can't be, like, Venom zombies is that the symbiote has to feed on a large amount of anger within a person, I believe. But if we're in New York, I think you could manage that pretty well. Like, a bunch of people in traffic just becomes a symbiote horde, you know?
You know what people possessed by the symbiote say?
What?
This is the maddest I've ever been!
I think, no, it'd be a we're walking here, because they say we.
Oh, yeah.
This
is the maddest we've ever been!
I'm sorry to derail with nonsense, Stav. I feel like you're about to say something else.
No, I just kind of to wrap it up, I think that this game sets up, like, I'm actually more excited for the future of this than I was when I finished the original Spider-Man game, because it sets up quite a few heavy hitter villains and a lot, like, even again, I'm not going to go into any detail, but there is a post-credit scene that sets up something I never thought would ever be in these games, and I'm really excited to see that as well.
Interesting.
So I figure, based on the one villain that was set up in Yuri's story, we're going to get DLC, and everybody else is probably going to be the next mainline game. So I'm looking forward to both of those.
All right. I'll have to see about that. I kind of wonder. I guess I have some idea of what villains could be left after who they've gone through. There's a couple they haven't done yet, but I guess the less I say, probably the better, because we don't want to give it away.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
They haven't done Big Wheel yet.
Actually, they have. Because when you go to Coney Island in this game, there's a Ferris wheel that says Big Wheel on it.
It's Jover.
That's all we're getting for Big Wheel, I think. But oh well. That being said, I'll hand it off to you, Tom.
Yeah. No, yeah, in the Blood Crypts meme of Mario and Spider-Man, I was on the Mario side. Are you going to talk about that one by any chance?
I'm not.
Yeah. Did you pick it up?
Oh yeah, I beat it.
Oh yeah. No, me
really
too.
good.
I really like it, yeah, but it's not spooky, so I'm going to save it for maybe another time. It'll probably...
There's spooky parts. There's, like, levels with pumpkins and shit.
You're right, there are spooky parts. There's other shit I want to talk about this time. That one will probably pop up at the Toasties, wink wink. So we'll get to talk about it a bit.
Spoilers!
It's not a spoiler, dumbass. It's me leaving you to Super Mario wonder what my game of the year is.
Tommy,
Yeah?
your life has been a Dame disaster.
No, I'll tell you about a real Dame.
It'll be time to move on.
I'll tell you about a real Dame disaster, and that's Master Detective Archives Raincoat. So I rented this...
Is that your game of the year?
No. So this, I rented this, and I was want to give it a try, because it's the follow-up to Danganronpa by the Danganronpa guy, Kazutaka Kodaka. And I love the Danganronpa games. I don't know if I'd be able to go back to them super easily, but you know what, Will? We spent a lot of time playing those games in our college dorm room. That was like a pretty solid chunk of our history for a while there. It was all Danganronpa shit. So...
Yeah, it's also, come to think of it, I remember asking Dav, when did you realize that you were in the friend group? And he told me when he heard us talking about Danganronpa. So
Oh, yeah.
it's kind of like a very evolutionary thing for us.
Right. Well, Dad wasn't in the friend group till he gave me $200, to be clear.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he's also in the, he can only go to 2 parties a week because
Yeah.
he just tried to be like a wild man in the pool.
He was like spitting water on everybody.
God, what is this? What are you talking about? What the hell was happening?
Dev, how would you like 200 friends?
I'm gonna erase just all memory of that show from everybody on the planet.
Are you the op-ed that's like
Tim Robinson destroyed my boyfriend's mind.
Right, that's it. Have you seen that article?
Oh yeah, I think I've seen that. Yeah, I very much agree with it. It's got a lot of good points.
I'm a little like, it's true, but she shouldn't say it. Anyway, time to talk about the worst game ever. Master Detective Archives Rain Code. So, I'd still consider... So, okay, where to start? So, this is also a mystery-solving game, similar to Danganronpa. But the format is different in that it's not, like, picking off a huge cast of characters. I've never played an Ace Attorney game, but it's my understanding that one is case by case. It's a different small cast that you're interacting with, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I mean, sometimes it can be bigger, but typically it's just, Miles, Phoenix, Maya, and the judge, and like the person on trial.
But I guess
And
like
a few
it's
others.
not like the suspects of the last case are also suspects in this second one, right?
That has happened before, but it's not the regular.
It's not like Danganronpa where it's always the same group of people, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
It's not the same group of people.
Because this one is similar to that in that it is like case by case. And what I started to realize as I played is that what makes investigating bearable in Danganronpa is that you aren't just pointing clicking suspicious objects, but you're like learning about the characters. Like the clues you'd pick up were, oh, this character has stomach issues, they must have been in the bathroom at this time, that's their alibi. But you also learn that little nugget about them where it's like, oh, they have a sensitive stomach. That's like weirdly endearing that the sword-wielding assassin had to poop. I don't know. But like in this one, because it's not that big extended cast, you're kind of learning about people in a way that it's kind of hard to give a shit about. Like, because it is just these settings, you're just like, I played the first 2 investigations in this game, and I had no capacity to give a shit. Because I was learning about characters I knew would only be germane to that chunk of the game. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
So, and here's where it gets even fuckier, is that it's kind of like Danganronpa in that you investigate, you pick up all the clues, you learn about the characters that are just kind of hard to care about. And this one is also in like 3D, so it's like, because like the Danganronpa trilogy, it's a visual novel. What am I trying to articulate? So, and I feel like what carries Danganronpa so much is those really characteristic drawings. The characters have every character has like 60 wacky facial expressions that really illustrate how they're feeling in that moment. And I find those drawings so great because they carry the characters to be more than like the cardboard cutouts that they are. Whereas in this, everybody's in 3D, you're walking in a 3D space, interacting with other 3D characters, but they move with the fidelity of, like, a Pokemon overworld character in a 3D game.
So it's like very stiff.
Yes. Yeah. You get small drawings in the corner of the screen, but nowhere near. You're not getting the wacky Kazuichi Soda shit where he goes full Junji Ito face when he's scared. None of that. No. So your main character, sorry, your main character, his name is Yuma Cocohead. I wish I was making that up.
Wait, what's his first name?
Yuma.
Yuma Coco Head?
Yeah.
Oh.
It sounds like he's like leading you into like a Ligma joke.
Yuma Coco Melon.
He's followed by a sexy little ghost, the Shinigami, and her special ability, and what I'm about to describe, it's gonna sound like I'm on crack, just please bear with me. What the Shinigami can do is she can open up when you gather clues, you're like, it's time to logic it all together. She can freeze time in the living world and take you to what's called a mystery labyrinth. And the lore of this is every time there's an unsolved mystery in our world, a labyrinth corresponding to the unanswered mystery exists in the Shinigami realm. So it's like a perilous maze where you have to, bring your knowledge to it and answer things correctly to traverse it. So it's like, where was this suspect at this time? Their alibi was that they were in this train car. That's a left or right turn. So you make the correct turn to continue to live in the labyrinth. And, all the other Danganronpa shit. There's a segment of matching up letters. There's segments of, pointing out items to, like, act as a key. All that complicated, wild bullshit. But I find a really huge narrative break in that as you're reasoning through the mystery in this point of the game, you're not interacting with any other character. So it's not like Danganronpa where you are directly confronting and arguing with all these different wacky characters. You are kind of in your own head, walking through a labyrinth where metaphysical representations of the mystery are what's standing in your way. And I found that kind of takes the wind out of your sails a bit. Because you're not like, the best part of fucking Danganronpa is you're tearing down the facade, you're making them sweat, you've got that little shit Teru on the ropes as he sputters into tears that you figured him out, and it's fucking great. In this one, it takes place entirely in another dimension. It's a weird medium for the character to solve the mystery. Am I making any sense here?
What you're trying to say.
Yeah.
It does, it seems like the game was supposed to be carried by, the protagonist, and, that would be kind of enough to get you interested, but from what you're saying, it doesn't seem like he's very interesting either.
No, he is Shuichi less good, unfortunately, and Shinigami is wannabe shitty Monokuma, and she's not very funny. And, you have a small crew of friends, too, and here's a bit of a neat idea, is that you're part of a small team of master detectives, and they each have what's called a forensic forte that they can teach you in investigating. So, for instance, in one of the first cases, you have a friend whose forte is, I can't remember how they phrase it, but it's being able to... It's like being able to see a vision of how a room was in the past. So she can close her eyes in a room and see what it looked like before a crime was committed and compare and contrast. But to do that in an investigation, you have to go up to her character model in the Pokemon-ass overworld, hit a button, initiate a small cutscene, and then investigate. And you have to do that multiple times per room you investigate, when there are multiple rooms per investigation.
Oh, that does kind of sound like a pain in the ass.
No, it's awful. And it's the Danganronpa thing where every fucking character is either I'm the most annoying person on Earth, or I'm the most, unbearably standoffish person on Earth. And maybe if I played Danganronpa again, I'd be like, I hate all these motherfuckers. But, I feel like in Danganronpa, there was the context of A, they're all children, they're high schoolers, and 2, they have, the whole premise of the characters is they're in touch with a very certain special skill. I'm the ultimate inventor. I'm the ultimate sports team manager. And that almost gave a context to, them being so fucking into their thing. That, of course, they're super weird. They're probably like, I say this lovingly as someone who codes many of his favorite characters autistic. They're all a little autistic because they're so fucking focused on their thing. Whereas in this, they don't have that excuse. It's like ostensibly characters in their 20s who are different brands of detective, and they all come off as, like, there's one where it's like, her whole thing is she forgets things a lot. And it's like, oh, you forgot what you had for breakfast. I don't give a shit. Yeah. So yeah, I'm investigating case, and because it's case by case, it's every chapter, you meet a crew of characters, one of them's a murderer. I don't care about any of them, so I don't give a shit who did the murder. Oh, man. And, like, because there's that narrative disconnect, there's points where it's like, how do you, like, you're defending someone, and in the labyrinth, you have to reason, how do you know this person couldn't have climbed down the tower to prove that they were innocent? And the logic you use is they're afraid of heights. Because you're in a magical fucking mystery labyrinth, that works. But if this were, like, if you told that to someone's face, they couldn't just, like, take your word for it. So there's no actual, like, convincing anybody that you're correct. Oh, man. Yeah, no, I think it is, like, Danganronpa wanting to be bigger and better and more advanced. And people like this game, is what's insane to me. I'm looking at, like, the backlogged page to kind of revisit my notes. I just wanted to, like... And it has like a 3.6 average, and people are like, I'm a big Danganronpa fan, and I liked it. So I'm just like, I don't know where people are coming from. It moves at a fucking snail's pace. It's all the fucking Danganronpa magic tricks in a context where I don't think they fucking work. I don't think the character, like, and in Danganronpa, I was always like, oh, they're wacky and colorful, but here I'm like, you're all ugly and stupid and annoying. And I don't know if it's because I'm fucking old or if this just sucks. So there we are.
Yeah, I mean, like, judging from the stuff I've seen, it just didn't look very interesting. I think it's for, like, maybe a different generation.
Yeah, maybe I've just gotten so fucking old. I don't know.
Maybe you've been filtered.
I was progressing just fine, thank you very much. I quit out of boredom. Because this is the kind of game that explains... They have this cheeky fucking visual indicator where sometimes when a character has to explain something that's already been explained to you, it fast forwards and there's like a... You know, that thing. But that would happen, and then you'd still be, like, explaining shit at normal speed as well, and that infuriated me.
Filtered by Family Guy attention span.
Man. So, that's Master Detective Archive's rain code. Let's keep this moving. Yeah, you're up to bat, Will.
Alright, so I didn't talk about this last month, which is good. I'm going to toast, surprisingly, Saw X. I saw the first two Saw movies with Sherman back in, like, our dorm room, and I enjoyed the first Saw, but it didn't really stick with me. I wasn't planning on seeing Saw X because I hadn't seen any of the others, but, it was getting, like, really good reviews, which kind of shocked me. So I saw it, and I can kind of see why. There is, like, the typical Saw torture porn stuff where, like, you know, a guy, like, you know, has to rip out his veins to get a key or else his, like, dick's gonna explode. But it's also the only Saw movie that is entirely focused on John Kramer, the Jigsaw Killer. And that was probably the best idea they've ever had. Because Tobin Bell, even though he's not been in stuff, he's fucking electric as Jigsaw. He plays him so well. He does make him, like, you kind of pity him and you're sympathetic for him, but then, like, his actions are like, okay, maybe don't do that, but then you're kind of endeared by his just, like, um, you know, like sureness in his own ideas, um, and it's like a lot of fun, but also it's just kind of a good story about a man with cancer who is given one last hope and having that hope stripped away from him and his revenge on it. Um, Out of every other Saw, for the most part, the victims hadn't been personal. It was just kind of people that John Kramer found that weren't quote unquote enjoying life. In this one, everyone that like gets tortured in the movie, it's personal, and it makes it so much fucking better. There's also a really cool moment where we kind of see how John Kramer's mind works. There's a scene where he's, in the hospital and he sees like a comatose young girl, and the janitor like looks through the girl's belongings and takes some money. And then it instantly cuts to a scene of the janitor in a trap where, his eyes get vacuumed out.
I'm sorry. The way that you phrase that, I'm sorry.
No, that's what happens in the trap. He has to break every one of his fingers or his eyes get vacuumed out. And like, it's a really cool trap, too. And like, all Saws, even if they are bad, have really good traps. But the thing about this is, after, the janitor fails and he gets his eyes sucked out, it's revealed that all of that was just, like, John Kramer thinking about what he was going to do to this guy. So it's kind of a cool idea to have someone who, like, sees someone commit a wrongdoing and then is instantly like, I know exactly how to, like, torture this guy. I think Tobin Bell definitely needs to do more work because he is an awesome actor. On top of the villains, because Saw hasn't really had any villains, but I think one of the things that works so well about this movie is that you don't really have to feel bad for the people in the traps. Like in Saw, I think it was either 3 or 4, a dude is like gunning for revenge for the person who killed his daughter in a hit and run. Or not a hit and run, just like hit him with his car. And then by the end of the movie, we reveal that, like, the person who did it was a college student, and the daughter, like, ran out in front of him. And so, he, like, kidnapped this college student who felt overwhelming guilt about it and tortured him. And it's like, you feel bad for him, because it's like, yes, he did do this, but, like, he's, it wasn't on purpose, it wasn't malicious, and he's been paying the price for it ever since. But in this, you have villains who are very much just like, yeah, I'm going to, we take advantage of dying people so we can get their money and claim to cure them, and then when they're not cured and died, they can't, like, come after us. So it is very much like a Saw where you don't really have to feel any, like, pity for the people in the traps. The traps are also really cool. Because they're all on people who, like... Because basically John Kramer paid a lot of money for an experimental surgery, and then, like, afterwards, he realized that not only did they not do the surgery, but they didn't even operate on him. Like, they say, oh yeah, you've got bands around your head, keep those on for, like, 5 weeks. And then he takes them off, and there's just, like, no scars or anything, so they 100% played him. So he kind of, like, he goes forward with, like, that in mind. So, like, the dude who does brain surgery on him, his trap is probably the hardest to watch. He had to perform brain surgery on himself. Yeah, there's like a camera directly looking down in his head, and he's, like, strapped into a chair. And he can, like, see the camera on a monitor, and Jigsaw's like, you have this much time to perform surgery on yourself, take a chunk of your brain out, and put it on the scale, and if it weighs enough, you'll be freed.
Oh my god.
It's like, Jesus, Christ, that's got to be one of the most brutal traps.
That's fucking insane. Yeah, I never just take out chunks of your own. Holy hell, goddamn.
Yeah, because like you look at that and you're like, I don't think I could like even attempt to survive that.
Well, no, that's not physically possible. I don't think. Man, I sometimes have a weird relationship with Jigsaw because I frequently find myself like unable to sympathize with him on the level the movies seem to like want me to. Like I'm aware they're never fully like, oh, this guy was so correct, but I always feel a little like they're kind of winking like, he has a point, huh? And I'm always like, no, I don't like this guy. So I wonder, it sounds like this is like maybe the most vindicated he's ever been by like the narrative surrounding him. And I don't know which direction that would take me, so I'm a bit curious.
I mean, it's the nice thing about Saw X is it's also not really. I think it's like a midquel. I think it takes place between 1 and 2, or maybe 2 and 3. Or no, 1 and 2. Yeah, and like you get the sense of who John Kramer is as a person, and it does, like it does try to humanize him, but it also shows that he's fucking insane and that, the stuff he does is wrong and like that no other person would do this, but there are a lot of endearing qualities to him in the film as well. He's a villain that like, yeah, he's not totally correct and he's not presented as such, but he is entertaining enough for you to like him.
That's interesting. All right.
I think he gets conflated with like Hoffman and Amanda a lot too, because they're the ones who really like set up traps that weren't escapable and were pretty unfair and shit.
Yeah, and like Hoffman and Amanda are, the movie's been out for like over a month and it's on streaming, so I won't spoil. Hoffman and Amanda are both in this, and like in the initial Saw timeline, I thought Amanda kind of sucked. This movie made me like appreciate her as a character. And Hoffman only makes like a cameo, and I've heard this from people who love Saw. They're like, I didn't like Hoffman, but when he came back, I got excited. So, yeah, I think I do agree with you, Dab, that sometimes he does get like conflated with his other apprentices who do stuff that is very much against his. I use this loosely moral code, but in this one, since it is just like Jigsaw, it's all him. There's no one else in there. We get to see kind of the purest version of him, and it shows, like, even for people that don't like Saw, it shows why Tobin Bell has been so iconic for all these years.
He does have that good air around him. To the point that it's like, I wonder if he doesn't act in other stuff as much, because it'd be like, well, you're just Jigsaw. You're not in this film. What do you mean?
He was in an episode of Creepshow with Giancarlo Esposito, and he did really good.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty good pairing. All right.
I also... Yeah, I'm going to put something in the chat. In Saw 7, there's a flashback to when Jigsaw's still alive and younger, and they don't. Do you know what I'm talking about now?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They don't de-age Tobin Bell. They just put him in this outfit. Just fucking put him in a backwards baseball cap, and they're like, yeah, he's younger.
He's like 25.
How do you do, fellow kids?
And by the way, Tommy, you have to put baseball cap Jigsaw in the thumbnail.
Ugh, alright.
Anyways, do you guys have any more comments, or can I pass it off to you, Davey?
I got nothing more.
Yeah.
Nothing, Ronald? Alright, your turn, Dev.
Okay, here's an unfortunate roast for y'all. I don't know if we can bring this back to spookiness at all, unfortunately, but I gotta throw
We'll
this
live.
roast out there. The Continental from the world of John Wick.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Not terrible, but very disappointing, is what I would say.
I just want to say I tried to watch like half the first episode and I just got kind of bored.
It is unfortunately very boring. That is one of the issues with it. But this is a 3-episode miniseries. It is the origin story of Winston and Sharon that takes place in the 70s. And it's a really disappointing origin story for both of them, I think, because it makes them out to both be really uninteresting people. Overall, I think that this has pretty good action, pretty good cinematography. It is a fairly high-budget series. It's not, obviously, nowhere near as on the level as, like, a John Wick movie. But, you know, it does some things that I would say are better than most, like, TV shows with action in them. Unfortunately, though, it is, like I said, it's very boring, and part of the reason for that is that it is just packed full of so many extra characters that have nothing to do, and they are so boring and lame. There's this, like, cop lady who is, like, investigating the Continental, I guess. She's just like a normal New York cop. She wants to know what's going on in the Continental, and that's her entire character, is that, like, she wants to know what's happening in there, and nobody on the force is telling her. And there's nowhere for that to go, really. There's a ton of other characters that I don't remember the names of. I don't remember what their motivations were. But the series overall kind of hinges around Winston's brother stealing the press that makes the coins that people have in this universe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, say that again?
So, Winston's brother breaks into the vault under the Continental, where they have the coin press that makes the coins that people have in, like, they give to, like, when they check into hotels and shit, or they give their markers in the movies.
Now, is that as
He
stupid?
steals the only coin press that makes that.
Is that as stupid as it sounds, or?
It's really stupid. It does.
Because, like, it sounds to me like Winston's brother's like, now I can make everyone an assassin. I'm just gonna hand out coins. Like...
I frankly don't even remember why he did it, because all it does is paint a giant target on his back. It obviously the entire assassin world just comes after him for this. And I think the only time the coin press even comes back is towards the end, when it's just used to give Winston leverage to take over the Continental.
That's just like such a... That just sounds exactly... Oh, what's something in the world of John Wick we don't know about? Where do the coins come from? Give me a goddamn break.
Yeah, he steals it in a heist. It kind of goes wrong. Everybody comes after him. Shit happens. This taking place in the 70s, I think had some potential to see sort of, you know, what does the world of John Wick look like, 50 years ago? Like, I feel like there's some directions that could go that are more interesting than this, but it's really bland, and it doesn't feel ever like it's really the universe of John Wick. It just feels like our world, but sometimes people kill each other for some reason. It's really none of that, just like campiness or anything. It just feels very straightforward and just boring.
Oh, that does kind of suck.
The biggest sin, well, a couple things, I guess, that are some pretty major detractors for this. Number one, Colin Waddell, who plays Winston, can't do an English accent and doesn't try to.
Oh, no.
He just has an American accent the whole time.
It's me, Winston.
He doesn't look or sound like a younger Winston. I don't know why he was cast in this role. He's not doing very good, to be honest. But also Mel Gibson's character is pretty wasted. He's, if you're gonna cast Mel Gibson of all people, when there are probably so many less controversial and just better people to put in that role, I feel like you should do something with it, and he has some interesting moments, but for the most part, he's just kind of a dumbass. Like, I'm sure you guys know, the number one rule of John Wick is don't kill on Continental grounds, don't do business on Continental grounds, and he just kind of flagrantly does it until it fucking gets the rug swept out from under him for it, obviously, because why wouldn't that happen? The biggest problem to me, that was, I think, the most annoying thing, is that this show has too many fucking needle drops.
Oh, no.
Just every I don't know how much money they dumped into the fucking licensing fees for this. There are probably, like, over the course of these 3 about hour-long episodes, there's like 40 different songs from the 70s that play every single time they go to, like, a new setting. It's so, there's like there's a roundabout by Yes Needle Drop, just out of nowhere in the middle of the episode.
I'm sure I bet it's a lot of, like, upbeat funk and dance music offset to, like, really violent fighting, and that's a magic trick they do, like, 10 times I would bet money on.
At least, yeah, it's insane. If you actually sat down and watched this, you would be blown away by how much they just try to put a song every time there's a transition to a new scene, where it's not even appropriate. It's
fucking annoying.
It's so annoying. Like, I get it, it's the 70s. I'm gonna keep playing all these different songs like, if they match the tone a little better, maybe that would be fine, but no, it's just constant.
That sounds like... It does just sound like, to me, it was like every concern I could have had kind of getting fulfilled, in that what I like about the John Wick movies is you go to Okinawa or Osaka, and the biggest assassin there has these 2 amazing sumo guys, and you kind of wonder what their story is, but they only exist for about a minute of the film. They kick a little bit of ass, and then you never even see them again. Because there's all these colorful assassins. There's, like, a big guy with a violin, and you don't actually get to learn about a lot about them. And I think there is a mystique to that that's really cool. Whereas it sounds to me, you have that sensibility, but they all can swim for about 3 episodes, and you learn more than you ever kind of wanted to.
Yeah, definitely. There's too much. I don't want to know all this about these, and a lot of these characters don't even really have gimmicks about them. In a lot of ways, the last episode just feels like Rogue One. They're all just, like, veterans, and they do some pretty basic combat shit. Like, I'm the guy who makes things explode. I'm the guy who can shoot things. I'm the sniper. And there's nothing beyond that. There's no gimmicks. Like, there's nothing fun about them.
Or have you seen that skit where it's like the action team, but everybody's the tech guy?
Yeah.
I think you showed us that, Tommy.
Oh yeah, I think I did. Computers obey his every command.
We just need 23 people to hack computers at the exact same time.
Oh, fuck. But yeah, no. How about, what's Sharon? Is Sharon, what's... Because you mentioned Winston, how he's a little wasted. Does Sharon actually get to do much, or what's the deal there?
He doesn't do a whole lot. He's kind of the least offensive character in this, I think, just because he is pretty much what he is in the movies. But, he's only like 20 years old, so it's neat to see him at this point, and he's kind of just subservient to Mel Gibson's character for the most part, but yeah, he's not used so much that I like have anything wrong with him, but I do think, yeah, there could have been more there.
I see. So I take it by the sound of it, he just hangs around Mel Gibson, and I'm guessing he dies and Winston, like, inherits Sharon?
Like, he kind of turns against Mel Gibson towards the end, just for various reasons. It's kind of stupid, but I mean, I don't really have any issues with spoiling this, because I don't recommend anybody really watch it.
I don't think anybody
kind of a
has.
waste of time.
No.
But he has, like, a friend who is, like, Mel Gibson's personal cellist or something. And this guy's just like, oh, I'm gonna go to a university to study music, and you should come with me. And Sharon's like, no, I think I better stay here. And Mel Gibson finds out about the guy going to college and trying to get Sharon to come with him, and so he just beats him to death.
Oh, God.
He's like, I don't like it when people try to steal from me.
What the fuck? I guess that's still more agency.
Character.
That's more agency for Sharon than I, like, kind of suspected they would give, but still, yeah, that doesn't sound amazing or anything.
Yeah, overall, it's a boring, annoying snooze fest that really doesn't add anything, and in fact just kind of makes Winston and Sharon less interesting characters, in my opinion, if you really watch it. So I'd advise staying away from it unless you can really just turn your brain off and watch the action, because that's pretty good. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that, so I will pass it on.
All right. Dav, you and I had a bit of a wild Friday the 13th out. We caught a late night screening of Friday the 13th Part 4. But first, we killed a little time at the arcade. And what I love about the arcade is that you just have these, like, weirdly transitory experiences. You only play as long as you have quarters. And you were like, wait, that's like, is that one of my new favorite games that I only got to play for like a minute? I gotta go back. I gotta see. We played a little game called House of the Dead EX. It is a kind of light gun-ish game. It is a spin-off of Sega's House of the Dead games, which are like, basically if Resident Evil were a light gun game. That's not even totally accurate, but it's zombies in a similar way. But this is a spin-off. Sorry.
I said yeah.
Yeah. This is a spin-off that really heavily, like, plays up cartoonish elements. You play as two zombies from the House of the Dead, where they never had, like, identities before. But it's, like, a big Frankenstein-looking zombie and his girlfriend zombie. Their names are Zobio and Zobiko. And you and I each picked up a gun. I think I was the boy zombie and you were the girl zombie. And it's a shooter, but not in the traditional sense. It's almost like, I described it as House of the Dead meets WarioWare meets No More Heroes. It's that kind of shit, where you come across a challenge where you have to use your gun. There's like mini games where it's like, you are playing as the zombies and you're shooting apples out of a tree to try and catch them in a basket. And sometimes it's shit like, they also have a pedal. And there's pedal-based mini-games that you stomp down, and it's like stomping a certain number of spiders with the pedal as they align with like a virtual outline of your foot. And I just think games like this, like, are super cool. Like, someone just went ham with two zombies from House of the Dead. You get all these like really cool comic booky drawings between the levels. I think it's like just super cool. And it is that really weird, because it's like you're competing, but you're also teamed up. So when Dav and I were playing, we could screw each other over. So it's like, but by doing well, you both proceed. So it's like, thank you, but also fuck you. And I think that's very fun. It's kind of like Mario Party in that weird way, because you're competing to see who can do better in each minigame, but someone doing better can also pull you through if you're not doing so well. And I like that about it a lot. And it's shit like, you get like a Hotel Mario point of view where zombies are running past a bunch of doors and you're shooting the doors to open them and trap the zombies. So it's almost like using your guns in any way besides actually shooting a zombie, and I appreciate that.
God, all you had to say was Hotel Mario gameplay.
Yeah. Not even more. I was just like, that's more the in like a purely, I don't know, just like to imagine what it looks like. It's a little harder to explain. Yeah, I love. To my shock, this has gone like nowhere in anything else. It's like, I think the two zombies were like the House of the Dead representatives in Sega All Star Racing, but it's the kind of thing where Sega just does not know how to do any IPs besides Sonic. I feel like, and Yakuza. And I'd love to, like, I could see this getting ported to the Wii and being really cool. But it's also, like, just one of those things where it's like, I could see that this is mostly fun because it's a lightning in a bottle thing you encounter, like, offhandedly in an arcade. Like, I love light gun games. Like, Dav, you and I played House of the Gun Dead, the Enter the Gungeon spinoff, and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is, like, a common experience, but, like, the liberal values fully leave my body when I see a big Buck Hunter arcade machine. I love, it's probably, honestly, one of my favorite genres. It's just shooting weird polygons on a screen. And this one just kind of mixed that with, like, No More Heroes brain and, like, the really fast WarioWare shit. It has a quirky-ass sense of humor. It has, like, boss fights where I think there's a villainous zombie who wants to get you back, and he's like the thespian or something. He's floating around. There's like a sumo zombie you have to fight. I wish there was more shit like this. I'd love to see, like, motion controls don't always work on at-home things, so maybe that's why it's better. This stays a really small, really weird arcadey thing, but this is like one of my new favorite games. Like, this is exactly my shit.
Yeah, it's pretty. It was a fun time. I liked how there was also like the stomping stuff. That was funny.
Well, I was surprised because whenever it gives you an option in the trail between a shooting mission and a stomping mission, you would always just choose a shooting one. You were like, shooting.
I mean, I hopped in like halfway through your playthrough, so I didn't even know like what was going on. I was like, okay, I guess I'll get this gun here.
For some reason, I totally interpreted that you were just like, I only want to do shooting missions. I'm not wasting my time with the fucking pedal. Man, we should go back and finish it one of these days. Because that arcade, they got rid of their crazy taxi. I don't know if they're, like, trigger happy with flipping out their games. I hope that wasn't just, like, a Halloween thing. Because the games we were getting into, I think, were a tad rare.
Yeah, that House of the Gun Dead one is, like, very new.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think a lot of people don't even have access to play that.
It was one of those, yeah. And I posted it on Backlogged about playing this, and people are like, well, what arcade did you find this? Because I've never been able to find it. Backlog, like, doesn't have a reply feature. I don't know if this person was going to be able to just, like, drive to Westminster, Colorado to fucking play specifically House of the Dead EX, but if you happen to be in that area, go check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of cool games that night, but that was kind of my weird little takeaway, weird little arcade obsession. Will, time for the final round if you're ready.
Okay, so I'll let you guys choose. Do you want to hear about a show I liked or a movie I liked?
Let's hear about a show.
Okay.
Alright. So, after weaning off Spectacular Spider-Man and also the 90s Spider-Man, I was looking for something else to watch. And Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, makes the MCU look worse than it is. Earth's Mightiest Heroes is an adaptation of, just like normal Avenger stuff, except there's like, it's hard to explain, because like, there's a lot of MCU stuff I do like, but everything in Earth's Mightiest Heroes is just a ton of fun. You've got, the main crew with Iron Man, Captain America shows up a little later, Hulk, But then, like, you also have Ant-Man and Wasp are part of, like, the founding members, basically. And they're, like, compared to the MCU counterparts of Hank and Janet, they, like, they kind of made Ant-Man one of my sleeper favorites. The show is amazing. The action's great, the animation is great. The characters are all very comic accurate, but with, you know, their own stuff sprinkled in. Where it really shines is the villains. Marvel has so many good villains, and for a while I was like, oh yeah, Marvel has no good villains except for Spider-Man villains. And I think that was only because when you watch the MCU, the villains show up for one movie and then die. And most of them don't have any character with them. They're just kind of, oh, I'm evil and I'm gonna, you know, I don't like Scott Lang. But in this, they use, like, a lot of the typical villains, like Arnim Zola's there, Baron Zemo's there, and he's awesome. We've got Loki, we've got Ronan the Accuser, but all of them are kind of just, like, really perfect adaptations. Like, the first threat they face is Graviton. Do either of you know who that is?
Oh yeah, I like him in this show.
Davey?
No, I haven't heard of him.
Okay. I hadn't heard of him until the show, but, like, even seeing him, again, he just shows up in, like, the first 2 episodes to be, like, the first Avengers level threat. Kind of made him, like, a sleeper favorite of mine, too. And I think that's where the show really shines, in that there are no real small parts. Even if there is, like, a minor villain who only shows up once or twice, they're still done really good justice. Camistro, who I didn't even know fucking existed, shows up in this show, and I think he's only in, like, 2 or 3 episodes, but he's still enough for me to be like, I like Camistro. Malekith shows up, and, like, it's not hard to be better than his movie counterpart, but it just kind of, it was an awakening experience of how I realized that if something is just, like, done with a lot of passion, and, you know, you could take liberties and stuff, but still comic accurate, it can just be, like, really fun. Ultron is in there, and he's played by Tom Kane, and he's the best Ultron I think there's ever been. Not just in performance, but also in writing. He is, like, a gigantic threat in the show that is scary as opposed to, you know, like, comedic in the movies. And he is very monotone, but there's still a lot of emotion he puts in there, too. It's an incredible performance. I haven't finished yet, but I will say Season 1 is my favorite superhero show of all time.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it is just incredible with all the action, the characterization, the fun, the villains. And Season 2 starts off with Dr. fucking Doom, played by Lex Lang. And the cool thing is, like, he doesn't really show up for very much, but just him in, like, a 20-minute episode, it's insane how perfectly they got him.
He's very good in that show, yeah.
Yeah, no, because he's intimidating, and he's strong and arrogant, but he's still kind of, like, got that superiority complex. There's a part where he kidnaps Wasp, and she's, like, trying to distract him, and he just goes over, and he's like, you know, your attempts to dissuade me mean less than nothing, so please stop embarrassing yourself. And then there's a scene where, like, all the Avengers are attacking him, and he's just, like, taking them out one by one with very little effort. And then the episode ends with him just, like, sitting on the throne. And the Avengers are like, what are you doing? And Doom's like, I'm done fighting for the day, so get out of here. And they all know that Doom is such a, like, fucking legitimate and extreme threat that if they can take a day of not having to deal with him, even if it is a standstill, they will.
Yeah.
And no fucking villain in, like, any other superhero cartoon that's only appeared for, like, 1 or 2 episodes has that gravitas. It's a really good show. Right now I'm on the Kree invasion arc, and that's a lot of fun. I know a few other villains show up, but I won't spoil those here. Overall, I think it is just kind of like, it's insane that there's never been really anything like it since, because as far as I know, every Marvel animated show after that just kind of sucks.
Yeah, they do. And I think I think the show came around when like the MCU was obviously always a big deal, but kind of burgeoning, and now everything is so about aligning with the MCU and having that, sorry, that traction that way and drawing parallels that I do think it falls into similar pitfalls. And this does feel like this last gasp of Marvel taking more influence from the comics before there were movies that you had to not even necessarily line up with, but it feels like that's where they're taking so much influence now.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely causing, like, a standstill at Marvel, because, like, if you look at the stuff they're producing now, and, like, the stuff related to the stuff they're producing, like, What If Season 1 was only, like, okay most episodes, but then you look at, like, the season list for, like, What If Season 2, and it's like, what if the Avengers went out for tacos instead of shawarma? And it's like, I don't care what would happen if Gamora killed Thanos.
Right.
I don't care what would happen if, like, the Guardians of the Galaxy got to Ego, like, a day later. I do care about, like, what would happen if Doctor Doom was, like, fucking took over Stark Enterprises and started, like, getting a foothold in America then. I would care if, what if, I don't know, Tony Stark and Doctor Strange switched places, and Tony got the magic and Strange got the tech. Like, I like cool stuff like that. I don't care about, like, just random bullshit. But I hope that one day we do get something as good as Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
I think...
And,
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, no small part of the special sauce is that the villains remind me a lot of the villains in, like, the Bruce Timm Justice League show, where they're all people first. And you have, like, a tier of really put upon, like, almost clownish, like, Blizzard, who have their own, like, shit going on. But then that attention to detail pays upward to the really big villains as well, and they all feel so well realized with so many different dynamics. Like, you have an idea of how all the members of, like, the Masters of Evil feel about each other.
Oh yeah, no, it's nice to see villains team up, but also, like, not get along, because they are all egomaniacs and fucking insane people. God, especially Zemo.
He's
Fucking
great.
uses a sword to fight. I knew I would love that guy.
And his politics.
Tommy!
You love H.P. Lovecraft, and you love Baron Zemo, and for reasons...
You know what, Tommy? But you love Lex Luthor, and that makes you a capitalist.
True, yeah.
Anyways, speaking of capitalists, Dav, over to you.
Okay. I'll say it's interesting to hear all the praise for that show when it has probably one of my least favorite versions of Spider-Man.
Oh, well, thanks for spoiling that Spider-Man shows up, Dav.
It's the same universe as the Drake Bell Ultimate Spider-Man show. It sucks.
That does suck.
Okay, this is one I think we're all going to be able to talk about, and I think we all enjoyed it to some degree, but I want to give particularly a big old toast for Castlevania Nocturne.
Yeah.
So there's some spooky stuff for you.
There you go.
This is the follow-up we've been waiting for a couple of years now. Takes place in the French Revolution, 1790s, and is mostly inspired by Rondo of Blood, but you know, as is par for the course with this series, it's not a one-to-one adaptation of anything really. And now we have a new Belmont. We got Richter. We have Maria Renard's kind of his like sister, adoptive sister in a way. We have her hot mom. And we have a bunch of just pretty cool fucking vampires. Which, you know, what more can you ask for with this show? I mean, what more can you add? I'm waiting to hear what you have to say, because I know that you didn't,
Sorry.
you didn't like this as much as I did. Because,
Okay, yeah.
I'm sure you had your various reasons that you want to get out there, so let's hear it.
Yeah, I guess I'll start. So first of all, Castlevania at its worst is better than most shows at their best. But Nocturne is probably my least favorite entry in the Netflix series. So first of all, the fight scenes are amazing, and the characters are good, but the main group does not have chemistry with each other. They're all good characters, like, individually, but when you put them together, there's none of that banter, like with Trevor and Alucard and Sypha. It does just kind of seem like they are a bunch of people put in a group. Also, the villains in this show suck. Get it, guys? Because they're
I get it.
You didn't like Ulrox?
No, I was going to say Ulrox is the only good one, but the rest of the villains are just like... So, when you have villains from the first show like Isaac or fucking Dracula, there's kind of a, you know, standard I have for Castlevania villains. Ulrox meets that standard. Ulrox is really cool. I like what he's got going on, but the other villains I just don't give a shit about. They just are very much, oh, we're evil, sexy vampires, and we're gonna drink your blood and kill all humans until you're livestock, and then we're gonna live in a vampire world with a vampire president. And it's like, don't you have anything, like, more interesting going on than just, like, wanting it because? We've got the vampire messiah, who would have been cool if she was actually any interesting, but she's just, oh, I'm a big giant vampire who is powerful. I do kind of miss with the old show when we had villains that were very, very fleshed out, and, you know, not just, even the ones that were the most evil also had something else going on. But that being said, I think Richter is awesome in it. He gets some of the best development in the show. Maria's pretty cool, as well as the rest of the heroes, no matter how frequently or infrequently they show up. Yeah, over to you, Sherm.
Yeah, no, I didn't, I liked this one, absolutely. I think the only problem with it, and not even really a problem so much as just a growing pain a bit, is that it's very much an introducing the new characters season. It's because the thing about Richter is that the truly interesting part of his story arc isn't really until Symphony of the Night, I'd say. And I guess that could be what they adapt next. I'm not positive. But there was just that small feeling of, like, I'm seeing them set up what I really know Richter being fascinating for and his whole crisis in that game. So I'll be very interested to see where they go next. I kind of hope... I don't know if there's any indicator as to where it's headed after, because the first series didn't just adapt game by game. They kind of took their time. And I'd like to see them lift their feet and get to the really cool stuff next, but I imagine that's going to be kind of hard to do. So I find myself just a little bit patiently waiting. I don't know if you guys have... It is a story that stands on its own. Like, Maria, I think, is a super cool character, but she doesn't get to do much, because we're introducing shit right now. So that was a small bummer. but she gets her Pokemon in the last episode, and it fucking kicks ass. I do have very positive feelings about it, ultimately.
Yeah, I kind of agree that it's probably my least favorite of Castlevania so far, but given that the entire first part was a 10 out of 10 for me, and this is a 9 out of 10, that's really only a technicality. And I do think, the villains in this, outside of I think Olrox, if he ends up being, like, the main baddie, is really going to be a strong point for this. He really should be. But that other one that's like the Vampire Messiah was, I think, really hyped up in the marketing and ended up not being all that interesting outside of the fact that she's like a real person in history. But also Annette is, I think, done very well and has a very interesting backstory. And, there's plenty of people who have all sorts of problems with her that we won't get into, but, let's say there's some misconceptions about when this takes place, apparently. I saw some people on Serialized, like, did they just retcon slavery? Like, no. I think her being very different from her source material, this is a very good way to approach it. It's like a very radical, very cool origin story for her.
And there is just a piece where it's like, there's never been a time without slavery, I feel.
This is also, like, takes place after America has been colonized.
Yeah, this is the late 1700s. I think some people were under the impression that her backstory, because she like, has a revolution on her, like, French Caribbean island that she was a slave in. I think some people read that as they toppled slavery when they did that.
Right.
But it was a real thing that happened in history.
There you go, yeah.
So it's just people with no, absolutely no, like, reading comprehension or anything. They don't understand anything beyond what they're seeing on screen, so whatever. I still think she's cool as fuck. I think her, like, opera singer friend was cool, but I think the way that he ended up turning into that creature was really cheap. I don't know if you guys remember that scene where they, like, go to the party with all the vampires at it, and they just kind of stand out in the open until they come and fight them.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
So there's some moments like that I think are pretty stupid, but overall I think it has a lot of the strengths of the first part. The great animation, great action, insanely good performances from pretty much everybody, and it sets up some things I am looking forward to. With the very end, no spoilers, there's a couple characters in this that were totally hidden from any marketing, and they were some pretty welcome surprises, I think.
There is still, like, the odd character that sounds a little like they're recording on a toaster. Like, some of Richter's lines come in a little fuzzy.
I'm sure this was, like, recorded during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just couldn't help it,
Probably a lot of remote work.
like, end of the first chunk of Castlevania, I think, had a couple characters like that, so it must have just been something that carried over.
Could have been, yeah. I do wish more of the vampire baddies weren't just, like, Carmilla again.
Right.
But,
Yeah, pretty much.
they kind of wrote themselves. You can't really bring back Dracula.
That's how I feel. Really, I feel the same, because, like, I do feel a bit like the show's never been as good as when Dracula was the main villain. And season 4 had Death, which I thought was really, really cool. But I kind of agree that they are in a tough spot with that, and none of the new vampires have thoroughly impressed me the way Dracula has, but I'm sure there's some game stuff they can, like, dig up and take advantage of.
Yeah, I don't expect this to be a series that goes on forever or anything. They're taking a lot of liberties, but they're still adapting some things, and that's pretty cool for me, so...
They're taking a lot of what?
Liberty, liberty,
Liberty, liberty.
Well, that's about all I got to say on it. You guys got anything else to add?
Not really. Yeah, again, I think it's definitely, it's good. And even with the problems I have on it, I thought it was incredibly solid too.
Yeah, well, good shit. In that case, I will pass it off again.
All right, last small topic of the night. I've been getting super into the Universal monster movies, the classic ones from like the 30s and 40s. And I think I'm just going to blanket talk about those, though if you had to seclude it, my personal favorite so far is The Bride of Frankenstein.
I think I just slept with Frankenstein's dick! Oh no!
Oh, Dav is like...
And Tommy's like, yep, that's pretty much all I gotta say about it. Now on to the news.
Oh.
I know your address, Will.
So, yeah, you've got, I guess, like, so far, there's a lot of them, but I've watched Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, The Mummy, The Bride of Frankenstein, I almost said Frankenstein's chick, like, out of sheer habit, and, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. I think those are all the ones I've tackled so far. I don't know if I'm forgetting one. Oh, and The Invisible Man. That's an important one. That one's fucking amazing. Yeah, it is just one of those things where it's like, you kind of take for granted, Frankenstein, the original Frankenstein, is one of the most widely parodied things ever, to the point that it's almost a little bit hard to fully appreciate, because it's like, oh, I've seen all these scenes. I know where it's going. To the point that it can be like, sorry, a little hard to fully appreciate, but they really are fucking amazing films in their own right. When it's like, my first year of college, I majored in creative writing, and we extensively studied Dracula, so the original Dracula almost came off as like a little dry to me, just because I knew it backwards and forwards by that point. But, I think the person we have to thank for these films being so iconic is James Whale. He directed Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, and Invisible Man. And he was an openly gay man in the 1930s, which is, like, unthinkable at that time. And I think that he poured a lot of that subtext into the Frankenstein cast of characters in, at the risk of putting words into the mouth of a community I'm not necessarily, I don't necessarily share the experiences of. I can feel a lot of feelings of, like, othering and unwarranted fear from others who would judge you at face value. That's, I think, inherent to how sympathetic Frankenstein is, and, something James Whale probably felt as an openly gay man 100 fucking years ago. The Bride of Frankenstein barely involves the titular Bride of Frankenstein, is what's weird. But it's kind of got a weird double meaning in that kind of the main hero is Dr. Frankenstein's love interest. So it's like the Bride of Frankenstein about the Bride of Frankenstein. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they're all...
Only if you have media literacy can you understand the title.
Yeah, right. They're all Frankenstein. We're all Frankenstein. There's, like, Boris Karloff is Frankenstein, and... he's very, of course he's very famous for that role, but people really shrink that role down to, fire bad. But he just, there's a bit where he gets taken in by a blind monk, and there's, like, a small chunk of the movie where he's just chilling with this blind guy who can't be afraid of him, because he, of course, can't see. And they're just, I'm not exaggerating, they just pass a blunt back and forth, and Frankenstein's just enjoying himself. Smoke good! It's fucking amazing. Gosh, yeah, fucking great. Boris Karloff is also Imhotep in The Mummy. And, when I knew it was it's a Universal movie about a mummy. And I kind of imagined, and Karloff is going to be Frankenstein in bandages. But he's actually, a very well-spoken, kind of Dracula-esque, intelligent villain. He is, so singularly fucking scary. he has this perfect makeup that he looks like he's decaying just a bit, but it's not like he's a zombie walking around. He is, I think, one of the best. It makes me kind of frustrated with the Brendan Fraser mummy a bit, because we have this sophisticated piece of, like, theatrical horror, and I'm like, why do we all have nostalgia for this, like, wahoo wacky action flick? I think it blows the remake out of the water. When I think a lot of people would disagree with me, I don't mean to be incendiary, but I was just very surprised. Because I thought it would be just like a bunch of archaeologists find a fucking bandage mummy, but it's a very different deal. Yeah, I fucking loved the mummy. The Wolfman shows up a lot. He's kind of weirdly the singular hero. He's Larry Talbot. He's played by Lon Chaney Jr., who, as a largely straight man, I'm like, he's weirdly attractive. He's got this, like, deep baritone voice. And he's great because, like, he has agency as a human to stop the other monsters. So in stuff like Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, he's kind of the one who's like, you have to fucking stop Dracula from reviving Frankenstein, to comedians from the 40s. And then he turns into a wolf and just kind of gets, like, I don't know, fucked over. He never really has a good time in these.
The only person who can defeat fucking the Lord of Darkness Dracula are the silliest gooses.
Yep, exactly. Abbott and Costello didn't really draw me in. That's probably my least favorite so far. But I know there's some that are, like, genuinely pretty stupid that I haven't seen yet. I'll probably be taking a break. We're recording this, like, right before Halloween. So I'll probably be taking a break from these as we move into November and my spooky streak ends. But I'll pick them back up probably soon. I like them a lot. Yeah. Oh, and of course, Bela Lugosi is in a lot of them. Like, outside of being Dracula, he's a secondary part in Wolfman as well, and he's really cool in those. It's just, they're iconic. It is one of those things where it's like, oh, it pays off that these are iconic for a reason. I think if, I'm not perfect. I'm not the most cultured. Like, I watched a bunch of Buster Keaton movies for a podcast homework, long story, and I didn't like any of them. I don't find it, I'm not above the kind of millennial, but it's black and white of it a bit, and I loved these fucking movies. The Invisible Man.
Excuse me, teacher. Why can't I click this icon on the book?
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm trying to say is they're very accessible. The Invisible Man is another one that, like, the effects are fucking stunning for the time they happen, to the point that I'm kind of racking my head trying to figure out there's an answer out there, but I couldn't fully even wrap my head around it. And they're genuinely really funny. Like, half that movie is, like, just special effects lifting a bicycle off the ground as the voice goes, "I'm gonna take this blooming bicycle." Like, shit like that. Like, a disembodied pair of pants just chasing someone down the street. It's fucking amazing. Yeah, I think my big favorites are Bride of Frankenstein, Invisible Man, and The Mummy. But I think they all have a lot of value. So if it is one of those things where I'm like, if you're resistant to older shit the way a lot of people are, and admittedly I can be, I think those are highly accessible. They're very good.
Yeah, I mean, I watched The Invisible Man, and I think out of all the classic ones I've seen, that's my favorite, because goddamn, that's a fucking villain.
Yeah, he's like having the most fun I've ever seen an actor have, and he's not even visible on screen. Man, fucking amazing. We ready for the newsroom?
Let's do it.
Yep.
Excuse me. Oh. All right.
Yeah, it really was slow. I don't really have anything outside of, like a Dragon 8 just announced like an Animal Crossing mode.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, really?
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, like the big side game in that is you go to an island and you can, like, build houses on it and have villagers who are just, like, people from throughout the Like a Dragon series. That, like, the fucking Obatarian is somehow still alive, Will.
Yeah! I'm so fucking fucking hyped. I was not gonna get the game before. You know I fucking am now. If the Obitarian doesn't fucking outlive Kiryu by at least 50 years, I am never playing a Yakuza game again.
What the hell?
She's canonically like 90 by now.
Golly.
Yeah, it's very much like an Animal Crossing inspired side mode, and it just looks fucking crazy.
That's fucking great. Sound Dame Da Abode. I don't know. They announced a PS5 Slim, which I'm kind of upset about. Because I spent weeks getting my PS5's disk drive repaired, and now they have a cheaper one with a removable fucking disk drive.
Yeah, that's a womp womp.
Yeah.
Yeah, for some weird reason, though, they're making it so that you can only install the disk drive when you're connected to the internet.
What?
Oh, I don't like those.
That's really strange.
It's really weird.
Well. I don't... Is this going to be cheaper than just a regular PS5? I think that's the case.
Yeah, because it's the new, like, Slim Digital, so it's, I think, going to be the same price as the original Digital, but the disk drive is, like, a separate purchase, and it's, I think it brings it up to about the same price as, like, a disk drive PS5.
Well, that's honestly kind of perfect, because fucking, like, Sony hardware is so fucking cheap. Like, my PS4 and 5 have needed lots of repairs. I feel like it's just so fucking unreliable, and I never go for the fucking warranty, because I always think, I'm not gonna fucking need this. So, like, to have, like, a separate... Like, if it is the disk drive I was having trouble with, which that seems to be the case, it's repaired now, but, like, to be able to just fix that one smaller component honestly sounds like way less of a headache, but it is what it is. Smaller thing. I don't know if you guys saw this, but this is interesting. We're getting a Looney Tunes movie called The Day the Earth Blew Up, hand-drawn in the style of the new HBO cartoons, released to theaters. I think that's kind of a big deal, because we do not get hand-drawn animation in theaters nowadays, like, hardly ever. So that's very interesting to me.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I think that's a great idea, and it'll be fun to see in theaters.
Especially considering, I wonder if this is like a mid-strike tactic, like Warner is so... Because this is something Warner canceled from their streaming service, and now they're like, fuck, we're out of movies because we won't pay our people properly. So they're going to so it's kind of a ultimate net positive question mark?
Yeah. Hopefully this will set a precedent going forward.
Yeah, I wonder if kids, like, are kids gonna be like, I want to go see Bugs Bunny in theaters? I don't know. Oh, no, well, I think it's a Daffy and Porky movie. What am I clarifying? It doesn't matter. I'll definitely check it out. It's supposed to come sometime next year. And we got some news from New York Comic-Con. I'm going to pull up an article here. But I do know off the top of my head we're getting a new Dragon Ball series.
Yeah, Dragon Ball babies.
Yeah.
Young Dragon Ball.
Toriyama is looking at Dragon Ball GT and saying, I'll do it myself. Sounds good to me. I think the problem with Dragon Ball Super is that the characters got impossibly huge, and now they're like all gods. So a plot device turning them into children sounds like fun to me. Maybe it'll take us back to like they established Goku needs the power pole again. Like, he's not Super Saiyan God anymore. So I'm kind of excited to see what kind of weird shit that'll take us into. So I got an article here. Oh, we got an initial trailer for, as well as Invincible Season 2 itself, Omni-Man in Mortal Kombat 1.
Fuck yeah. Well, fuck yeah that he's in there, not fuck yeah for Mortal Kombat 1, because they've been fucking greedy lately.
Yeah, it's really awkward that we were singing that game's praise, and I still love that game, but there's some poorly aged aspects here.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? We're not like the baby from I Think You Should Leave. We can change.
Yeah.
I'll
Dav,
kill you.
I'm gonna fucking kill you, driving crooner. I was gonna say Dav wants you to change from quoting "I think you should leave," but then he teed that up for me, and I could not. You know what? There's a lot about Mortal Kombat 1 that sucks. It kind of got bumped out of my top 5 for like the toasties as a result. I'm still happy about a lot about that game. I'm still going to speak about it affectionately. I'm really excited for the DLC. Omni-Man looks fucking amazing. And Invincible Season 2
looks great.
Invincible Season 2 also just looks fucking choice. I'm really excited to watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they made it clear the wait between this and next season is going to be much shorter than 1 to 2, so that's good.
Because I'm sure, like, maybe Amazon didn't have, like, all the faith in it initially, so now that they know it's a hit, it's like they're just, like, cranking it out.
Yeah.
They're putting that money in. Apparently Ewan McGregor explained how to make tea because he couldn't talk about Star Wars because of the strike.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Everything Sorry, I'm looking at a couple articles. I guess because so many people are on strike, reasonably so, I want to addendum. There just wasn't much room for news. As we record this, I might need a day or two to edit, so we don't know what'll come out of the wash. Negotiations are happening as we speak. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, and long story short, if they don't give the actors every single thing that they want, then they're pieces of shit. Like, I know that sounds sarcastic, but I genuinely mean that. Like, the things the actors are asking for are completely reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like, in a perfect world, they would be asking for more, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, but we do not live in a perfect world. But, like, yeah, just like studio executives need to get their head out of their asses. You don't need to make fucking $300 million a year. Give that money to the people actually doing shit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I sounded like such a happy-go-lucky chumbo last month because I was like, well, the writers got their fair deal and SAG is probably not just trying to have a positive attitude, but that was very misled because I think the executives feel that bloat to negotiate in poor faith because it's like legacy faces via AI on the line. I wonder is where it is. Like, no, we want to be able to put Harrison Ford in movies fucking forever, and that's kind of what they're fighting against. So maybe they're digging their heels a little more toughly. So, you know, as long as it takes. Like I said, by the time this comes out, there might be a new development. I don't want to jinx it, so as long as it takes, we'll see. This is October. Sorry.
The news is gonna come out tomorrow, and they're gonna be like, the studio CEOs killed all the actors. Somebody's gonna be like, God damn it.
Disney delayed more shit like preemptively, and it's not a good look. They have like no, because they delayed Elio, the Pixar film, a whole fucking year for some reason, and I'm like, actor promotion was not gonna. I guess it could be ADR stuff, is why. But still, super fucking bizarre. And then, did you guys see all the shit that's going on with Snow White?
Not really, no.
So that one picture of it that looks horrible.
There's this horrible looking picture, because I think, like, I'm fuzzy on details, but it's like, I think originally the dwarves were going to be a diverse set of actors, and now they're being re-CG'd into dwarves. So they're all rushed and awful looking, and it's like pandering to the wrong people, I think. And it's a whole fucking shit show. It's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
It's all fucking... someone's gonna find a way to blame Rachel Ziegler, who I don't know. I don't like seeing how people treat her. It's weirdly upsetting.
It's sad.
Yeah. Because she's also not going to get to be in Paddington in Peru. She was going to be in it, But I think because a lot of the Paddington actors are British, they can go film stuff. I don't know all the finer details, but she's American, so she still has to be on strike. So the only reason she's not in it is that she's choosing not to be a scab. And people are gonna absolutely make this about the fucking Snow White bullshit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think it's fucking waste of talent, all the Disney shit. Oh well. I was gonna mention something, because I think we cover... the Monarch TV show, the Godzilla TV show. Dav, are you kind of about this? Because I know you love the MonsterVerse.
I'm looking forward to it. I haven't been keeping up too much with any of the updates on it, but it sounds like it's good. It's getting pretty good reviews.
All right, yeah. You'll have to report back to me. I wonder if there's, like... I'm waiting for that, like, gritty universe to do, like, a weird kaiju thing. Like, if they do Megalon, I'll be on board.
I might have some news for you right now, actually.
Oh, fuck.
A few minutes ago, it was confirmed that Matthew Perry has passed away.
What?
From
Yep.
Friends?
From Friends, from Fallout New Vegas.
Jesus Christ. What happened?
I don't see any detail. It just says he's passed away at the age of 54.
Jesus Christ. When you said that, I thought you were going to say, like, Megalon is in the fucking Godzilla show.
What I thought too.
Oh, it says a suspected drowning.
Oh my god.
That's pretty fucked. Oh, all right. Well,
God damn.
breaking news from West Coast Toast and Roast, I guess.
He always did seem like kind of a haunted person. I think he said he has no memory of, like, the latter 5 seasons of Friends because he was just always on cocaine. I think he was very troubled, so I hope he's, I don't know, found some peace, as corny as that sounds. Golly,
Yeah.
Matthew Perry. God damn. Well, on that note, I will not eat a single morsel of food until Chandler from Friends is dead and buried. Oh, no.
Tommy, Jesus Christ.
Oh.
Dude, he just died. You're already making jokes?
Well, this is the second time. Who did...
He died quite possibly mere minutes ago.
Well, like, who did we find out died on air? The last time I made that joke, was it like a TV doctor or someone?
Oh, I have no idea.
This is not the first Toast and Roast where I find out someone died. I'd have to... oh man. I guess I'll have to... It's the one where I said I won't have a single morsel of food till E3 is dead and buried, and Will's like, I thought you meant so-and-so, and I didn't know they died.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember who it was.
Fuck. Well, I don't know what the fuck. I'm bracing myself for the awkward Facebook edits of Matthew Perry walking up a cloud and, like, I don't know, Betty White and Chadwick Boseman are up there, and I'm Tommy.
Harambe.
Harambe.
And, I am shocked that Tommy would make a joke about someone mere seconds after they've died.
We don't know. He's confirmed dead
That's
mere seconds
sort of
ago.
a joke.
And I am very pleased that Screwball was not in Spider-Man 2, and I will assume she died off screen from type 1 diabetes, which is the disease that I have. And I'm Dav.
Oh, good night, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Eat lots of candy.
Happy Halloween.